Good morning, students. Good morning, students. Today, we're going to learn a very interesting topic. So far, in the past videos, we have been learning grammar, and that's why today I am bringing you a new topic, figures of speech. Before that, let me introduce myself. I am CG Lakshmi Prasad, Assistant Professor of English, working at Government Degree College, Atmakor, Vanaparthi district. So today we are going to learn about figures of speech. What is a figure of speech and how many types are there? And they are all called rhetorical devices. Rhetoric means beautiful way of expressing our thoughts. And what is what is a figure of a speech, or what are figures of speech? Language can be used in two ways, that is literally and figuratively. In a day-to-day use, in day-to-day life, whatever that we speak is literal, and whatever the word that we speak, the meaning the listener assumes is to be the dictionary language. But when it comes to literature, poetry, novels, drama, play, the dialogues, the meaning of the dialogues differ because there they use figures of speech. We have to understood in such a way that we have to understand the language in such a way that it is not a word to word, it is behind the words. The meaning exists behind the words. We call it in between lines. So literal language is direct and uses the real definition of meanings of words and phrases that is there in the dictionary. But when we talk figuratively, the meaning of any word, phrase will depend on the context in which they are used. So context becomes very important, and the meaning of that sentence or a dialogue may not be meaningful if the context is over. So a figure of speech relies on such figurative language and rhetoric. When using figures of speech, the words will diverge from their literal meaning. So literal meaning, the meaning differs. It comes out of the literal meaning to give a more stylized and specialized meaning to these words. So we get a specialized meaning, more stylized meaning, and the meaning gets deeper and it evokes further meanings. Let us take, for example, phrase fast like lightning. Actually, we are not saying that he is running as fast as or he is running fast like lightning. When suppose if we say, we are not actually comparing his speed with lightning, and we only mean to say that he is running very fast. Instead of saying running very fast, we are saying we are bringing a new word, lightning. This phrase merely implies great speed, that's all. It doesn't mean literally as fast as lightning, and nobody can be as fast as lightning. Lightning happens just in a fraction of a second. On hearing the school, see here, this is an example. On hearing the school bell, the kids ran out of the class as fast as lightning. Nobody can be running as fast as lightning. It is only a kind of figurative speech, okay, where the meaning gets enhanced, and we get into a new arena. We get into some kind of a new arena of meaning. That is how these figures of speech works. And there are many number of figures of speech in English. Not only English, for that matter of fact, every language has this kind of figures of speech. Particularly whichever language that has literature, there will be figures of speech. Okay. Suppose in Telugu also we have figures of speech that we call it in Telugu alankaralu. You must be knowing in 10th class or intermediate, you must have learnt about alankaralu. Figures of speech is like alankaralu in Telugu. And in alankaralu, we have two kinds of alankaralu. That is shabdalankaralu and arthalankaralu. What is shabdalankaralu means? The beautification of language through sound. Maybe repetition of words, repetition of vowels, repetition of consonants, and no, that is when sound gets repeated, it gets beautified, and it will be very nice to hear. In the same way, arthalankaralu means by meaning, the language gets beautified. Language is beautified through meaning. Okay, we have now upamalankaramu, utpreshalankaramu, like there so many, they are called arthalankaralu. So the shabdalankaralu is based on devices play on the sound of the words. So these based on sound of the words, whereas arthalankaralu play on the meanings of the words. So these are two types of figures of speech that exist in Telugu. In the same way, even in English also, we have this kind of pattern. Not only in English, every language we have this kind of pattern of figures of speech. In English also we have the similar, if not the same. It cannot be same actually, but there is a similar pattern. Just I'm bringing this for you to understand what actually figures of speech. Figures of speech is used to beautify the language, to enhance or to appeal to the listener. Listener gets he gets enjoyed. Okay, he enjoys such language. A system of figures as well. Even now in in Telugu film industry, cinemas, and there are so many such figures of speech. Now people call punch dialogues. Okay, they're nothing but figures of speech. If not same system of figures of speech, we have types of two types of figures of speech in English. Like in Telugu, we have two arthalankaralu, shabdalankaralu. Even in English, we have two types of figures of speech. One is schemes. The first one is called schemes. It is like shabdalankaralu. Not exactly, it plays on sound. There are different, structure of words, structure of, pattern of sounds, and all those things. There are number of such schemes in English. And for I'm bringing just, I'm quoting only one or two examples like alliteration. Alliteration means a repetition of sound, ellipsis, antithesis. These are some examples for schemes. Then we have another type is called tropes, similar to arthalankaralu. Like I told you upamalankaramu, utprekshaalankaramu. In the same way, in English also we have simile, metaphor, hyperbole. There are examples for tropes. Okay, so we have just like arthalankaralu, shabdalankaralu. Even in English, we have schemes and tropes. There are number of, not one or two, hundreds of these schemes and tropes are available in English, and most of these are they are borrowed from Latin and Greek. Okay, English itself is a language borrowed from many languages, particularly from Latin and Greek, and the names of these schemes, tropes are also, most of them are borrowed from Latin and Greek. There are hundreds of figures of speech in English. Figures of speech make up a huge portion of English language, making it more creative. So, what is the use of these figures of speech? Means language is always dynamic. Okay, and it keeps changing, and it allows a reader or listener or speaker creative. So we can be more creative through language, and the same expression, same thing can be expressed in different ways. There is not just one way. In many ways things can be expressed. Suppose you may tell your girlfriend I love you. Okay, the same thing if you ask some writer to, some poet to express, he may express it in different way. Okay, there is a line called my love is like a red red rose. Okay, so nothing like that. Okay, my love is so beautiful. Here, my love is compared with red rose. Red rose is supposed to be so beautiful. So in such way, maybe ordinary people may not express in that beautifully. There are so many such expressions. Different poets and love. is one of the vast topic discussed by poets and writers, not only in English, even in Telugu. We have right from Sanskrit, we have Kalidasa, Mega Sandesham. So many ways the love can be expressed in different ways. All those are figures of speech. And just more interesting, many have been around for hundreds of years, and we can trace these figures of speech from hundreds of years, and even some, suppose if you go back to Latin and Greek, from thousands of years it has been under use. The ancient Greeks and Romans exhaustively listed, defined, and categorized figures of speech in order to better understand how to effectively use language. And not only using figures of speech, they have also listed and defined and categorized figures of speech. Already we have learned about two categories of figures of speech, and under each category they have defined different figures of speech and what it is, and they have explained it, and all those things are adapted into English. The names of most figures of speech derive from original Greek or Latin. So and most of them are derived from Greek or Latin. Figures of speech that play with the literal meaning of words are called tropes. I told you already. If meaning is played, they are called tropes. Sound or pattern of words, they are called schemes. So two types of figures of speech are there, and I told you there are number of such figures of speech, hundreds, not just no tens, or there are hundreds, even more than 100 figures of speech in English. We are going to focus on some figures of speech which are very common in our day-to-day speech. Okay, and we are going to concentrate on only few which are very common in our day-to-day life. Even not only poets, even we do use them in our day-to-day life. But of late, because of this modernization, because of mechanization of life, people are going away from these figures of speech. Now people, they consider these figures of speech as dead, and they think that it is false. But figures of speech is a beautiful way of expressing our thoughts, and it is essential in our day-to-day life. It makes us more creative. So, following figures of speech are going to be learned on this video lesson. They are simile, metaphor, oxymoron, hyperbole, personification, onomatopoeia. And besides these, we are also going to learn some more. Okay, they're literary devices. Okay, which are recently evolved and widely used nowadays. They are portmanteau words, palindromes. So let us examine one by one, and let us see what are they, or what they are, and how they are used in our day-to-day life, and how we can be more creative. Okay, let us go to simile. A simile is a figure of speech that uses comparison. So here two things are compared. Like I told you, my love is like a red rose. So here love is compared to red rose. So this comparison is used with the help of like or as. These two words become very crucial. Suppose he is like a lion. He fights like a lion. Okay, so like and as, like even in Telugu we have upamalankaramu, upameya, preshalankaramu, like that. The same way, it is almost all same. I don't remember actually this Telugu alankaralu. I learned long back, almost 30 years back, when I was in intermediate or in SSC. I learned, and I don't totally recall what actually upamalankaramu, preshal. There is little difference, but you must be knowing better than me. Okay, but as far as simile is concerned, it is a figure of speech that uses comparison. So two things are compared, and how these two things are compared with the help of like and as. In a simile, we use two specific words, like and as, to compare two unlikely things. That is more important, and they don't have any similarities. Like my love is like a red rose. Love is a kind of feeling that exists in our in our heart. Okay, maybe heart. But a red rose is something solid object which we can see with our eyes. But love cannot be seen with our eyes. Okay, it is something abstract. It is only an idea. Whereas here, these two uncomparable things, two different things, they are compared with the help of like and as. Okay, that actually have nothing in common. And these two things have nothing in common. This is done to bring out the dramatic nature of the prose and invoke vivid images and comparison. And what happens when we compare these kind of things? The listener or reader, he imagines. Okay, he imagines a rose one side and love one side, and he sees the beauty of the rose, and he tries to imply all the qualities that has to the rose, to the love. So this is a effect. Okay, when we use figures of speech, so what does it do? It invoke where in the reader's mind or listener's mind, vivid images, colorful images, and comparisons. So this is a very important use of these figures of speech, and simile also does the same thing. It is one of the most common forms of figures of speech and is used in everything from day to day life, talk to poems. Not only in poems, it is used even in our day-to-day life, and even in films, and even we do use. Maybe we do not know that it is called a simile, but we use it in everyday life. Even it is very common even today. Let us examine some examples. His hair is as black as coal. We say, how black is his hair? It is like a coal. Coal is a different object. Here, coal, the color of the coal is compared to the color of his hair. So we mean to say that it is very black. So literal way of saying is that his hair is very black. That's all. But here, simile is used. His hair is as black as coal. So we have to imagine, okay, that some image comes into our mind, and we tries to compare that with the color of hair. That is important. She is as brave as a lion, and how brave she is, like a lion. Okay, and nobody can be, human being is very weak animal as far as my understanding goes. Maybe he may be very intelligent, he may be very strong in his mind, but as far as physical strength is concerned, human being is very weak, whereas lion is very strong. With just one paw, it can kill human being. And so I don't think nobody can be as brave as lion, but still we want to exaggerate the braveness, her braveness. So we are comparing her braveness with the lion. Then her eyes sparkle like diamonds. Can any eyes sparkle like diamonds? Diamonds, some diamonds can sparkle even in dark, total dark also. It can sparkle with a little bit of light, little ray, one ray of light, it can sparkle. But eyes, it cannot sparkle. But here, what we mean to say that her eyes are very bright, her eyes are very attractive. Okay, so as to say that we are comparing like diamonds. She was as busy as a bee. Bee is supposed to be the busiest creature on the earth, because it never takes rest. Always it goes and brings, it fetches honey, and again deposits, and again goes, always on work. Whereas we human beings and even the animals, they take rest. Okay, but here, what we mean to say that she was very busy. She was very busy, but her busyness is compared with the bee, and actually nobody can work like bee. My love is like a red rose. We have already explained this one. So this kind of comparison where we use like or as, two things are two uncomparable things, two things that has no common comparability, are compared with the help of like or as. These two words are used. Such a comparison is called simile. And the next one, metaphor. What is metaphor? Metaphor is almost like simile. Here also two things are compared. Here also two things are compared. It is almost all same. There is a very small difference between these things. What is the difference is that in simile we use like and as. Whereas here we don't use like and as. We simply say he's a lion. That's all. He cannot be a lion. If we take it literally, it is absurd. Can a person be lion? Maybe he is like a lion. Suppose if say some sense is there. Suppose if he says he is a lion, it is absurd. It is something. He is a teacher. He is okay. He is a lion. Can he be a lion? Literally, if we take it, is absurd. But metaphorically, we are we are attributing the qualities of lion to human being. So that is how it becomes a figures of speech. A metaphor also uses compares to things that are in no way similar, but it doesn't use words like or as. So like or as they are not used. It does so to bring out the symbolism. It helps to explain an idea. But if you take a metaphor at its literal meaning, if you take it literal meaning, I told you he is a lion, it becomes absurd. Okay, he can be a teacher. He may be a lawyer. He may be the prime minister. He may be the chief minister. But how can he be a lion? How can he be a lion? He cannot be a lion. It is absurd. You are telling lies. That is what is happening in nowadays. Okay, because of scientific development and because of modernization, people think that it is absurd. People think that it is false, but it is not that. We have to get deeper into the meaning and then try to understand that the qualities of a lion is attributed to him. That is what it needs to be understood. Because of our busy life, that tendency has gone. And let us see some examples. This city is a concrete jungle. This city is a concrete jungle. See here, jungle means, we know jungle means forest. Concrete jungle, jungle made of concrete. Usually the city, the forest is filled with trees, whereas city is filled with concrete buildings. That's why you are saying the city is a concrete jungle. Okay. This is called a metaphor. We are not saying the city is like a concrete jungle. We are saying directly the city is a concrete jungle. Her words were poison. Her words were poison. They are poison. And we don't need any poison to die. Just if you listen to her words, you die. Okay. All the world's a stage. It is a very famous quote from Shakespeare. All the world is a stage. All the world is a stage. Can the world be a stage? No, but he compares all the world is a stage and all the women and men, all the men and women are mere actors. Okay, and they come and go, they play their role and they exist. That's how one poem is there. It's a very beautiful poem written by Shakespeare and in one play. You are the light of my life. Okay, you are the light of my life. We need sun for light, or we need electricity to use some light. Okay, but you itself is light of my life. If you just sit in front of me, even if I switch off all the lights, still there is light. Can it be possible? No. Just we mean to say that you are very important in my life. You are the light of my life. These computers are practically dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are extinct animals. They are no more. What we mean to say that the actually computers cannot be dinosaurs. Okay, what we mean to say that these computers are very old. Okay, they are no more useful. Now we have come very powerful computers with almost all 10th generation computers have come, but still they are first generation computers. So they're so old as dinosaurs. As dinosaurs extinct, these computers also no more. No, they are not in life. They have died. They have extincted. That's what the speaker means by saying these computers are practically dinosaurs. London is a melting pot. Melting pot is a special word used where different cultures, different people live in one city. It's called a melting pot. Okay. Then love is a battlefield. Love is a battlefield. Okay. Can love be a battlefield? No. He's comparing battlefield with love. So there are so many issues, and we have to fight things, and we have to come out of that issues. That's why here love is compared to battlefield. But remember, in simile we use like or as. Suppose if it is a simile, we have to say love is like a battlefield. But here love is a battlefield. Okay, that is a difference. In simile, we use the words like or as to compare two things. But here, two things are compared, but we don't use like or as. That is called metaphor. Let's go to the next one. Oxymoron. Oxymoron. An oxymoron is yet another figure of speech that juxtaposes elements that appear to be contradictory. Opposite words. Opposite words are juxtaposed. They brought together to mean a special effect. It combines words that have almost opposite or very different meanings. When we look at these two words separately, they're almost all opposites. But when they're brought together, it brings a special meaning. It evokes a special meaning. They are called oxymorons. Let us see some examples. She let out a quiet scream. What does it mean? Quiet means silence. Scream means full of sound. Silent is sound. Two different things are brought together. So what does it mean now? Maybe a very big scream. Maybe a very big scream. The design is composed of an irregular pattern. The design of a sari. Okay, how it is composed? Of an irregular pattern. What is the meaning of irregular? There is no regular. There is no pattern as such. It is irregular. Pattern means there is regular something, some design is there. It is regular. Irregular pattern, irregular and pattern, they're almost all opposite, and they are brought together, and a special effect is brought up here. The room was filled with a deafening silence. See, deafening. Deafening means almost all, which we cannot hear. Full deafening. Silence. Silence is full silence. Deafening means which we cannot hear. It's so loud. It's deafening. So two opposite things are brought together. The clown was seriously funny. Serious means it is different. Funny means very jovial. Serious means Okay, both are almost different. The clown was seriously funny. Means here very funny, more funny, most funniest, funniest, something like that. You are clearly confused by the explanation. Clear means there is no doubt. Confused means full of doubts. Clearly confused. Two different things are brought together. Did you bring the original copy? Original means original. Copy means duplicate. Original copy means original duplicate. Two things are brought together. It is used in everyday life. Okay. Even today we use as if it is correct one. Of course, it's correct one. It is a figures of speech. I'm not saying it is wrong. It is wrong to use original copy. It is correct. But what we mean to say that it is oxymoron. She is deeply superficial. What is deep means it's very deep. Superficial means upper layer. Okay, it is just the surface. Surface and deep. These two things are brought together. The dog is pretty ugly. Pretty means very beautiful. Ugly means it's all opposite to beautiful. Pretty ugly means these two things are brought together. Okay. So this is what is oxymoron, where two opposite words are juxtaposed. They are brought together to evoke special meaning, special understanding. Then hyperbole. Hyper, hyperactivity. Hyper adi. Hyper means what? More. High, very high. Hyperbole in the Greek language translates to excess. Hype means excess, and that is what it does. That is what hyperbole does. It exaggerates. We use hyperboles to emphasize the importance or overstate something. We overstate something. Okay, it is beyond possibility. Beyond possibility. We exaggerate to so much that it is not at all possible. But still we use it so as to emphasize the importance of that particular statement. Let us see some examples. The suitcase weighed a ton. Ton? What could be the weight of a suitcase? Hardly, maybe if it is too heavy, 30 kgs. That's all, 30, 35, 40 maybe, very big. People going abroad, they have very big suitcases, 40 kgs, 50 kgs. That's all, not more than 50 kgs. But a ton, is it possible? Is there any suitcase which can weigh a ton? Absolutely not possible. This is what is exaggeration. This is what is called hyperbole. She's skinny, means very lean. Skinny means very lean. How skinny she is? As a toothpick. See here, there is a simile also is there, because here we are using as. Simile, hyperbole is a kind of simile, because again we are comparing two things. Okay, but some similarity will be there. Whereas in simile, two different things, no similarity. But then what is the similarity between these things? He is skinny as a toothpick. Toothpick is so lean, and she's also so lean. That's what the leanness is compared here. And nobody can be, no human can be as lean as a toothpick. Toothpick is so lean. Okay, it is used only to clean our tooth. Okay, and it cannot be, nobody can be that thin, that thin. Okay, nobody can be that thin. The thinnest person may weigh at least 30 kgs, 30 kgs or 35 kgs. And toothpick, what is that? What could be the true weight of the toothpick? Only in grams, 5 grams, 3 grams, 2 grams. I don't know exactly. Maybe it is not. It may not be more than 1 gram. And the thinnest person, the thinnest human being may weigh at least 30 kgs. So it's not possible. But still we mean to say that she's very thin. I have a million things to do. Million things to do. What does it mean here? Actually, does he have million things? Has he counted? Has he made a list that I have these many works? No, nothing like that. Maybe he's very busy, and just so as to emphasize that he is very busy, he is saying that I have a million things to do. Please come tomorrow. I'm very busy. I have a million things to do. I could sleep for a year. Can anybody sleep for a year? No. What he means to say that he is so exhausted, he requires sleep. And maybe when you are so exhausted, you may sleep for 10 hours maximum. After 10 hours, you have to get up at least for toilet. Okay, at least for eating something. Then again you may sleep for some time. But 1 year, is it possible? It's not possible. That's why I told in hyperbole, it is stated, it is overstated in such a way that it becomes almost all impossible. And to our imagination, even to our imagination, it is not possible. I'm so hungry, I could eat a horse. Can anybody eat a full horse? How hungry you may be. Can anybody eat? If it is meat, if you are so hungry, you may eat 1 kg. That's all. That very, you know, uh, what is that? A person who eats more, that person may eat 1 kg, not more than that. Okay. If he is still hungry, he may eat 1.5 kg. That's all. Hearts may weigh almost all some 200 kgs, 250 kgs, 200 kgs maybe. I don't know. I'm not very sure. You have to Google it. Can anybody eat 200 kgs of meat? 200 kgs of meat of horse? No, it's not possible. Nobody can eat. Even a lion cannot eat. Okay, even tiger cannot eat. Bengal tiger also cannot eat full horse. I have told you 100 times to wash the dishes. I have told you 100 times to wash the dishes. Has he counted? Nothing. Just he want to say that I have told him many times. Maybe that many times, maybe 5 or 6 times. Just you tell 5 to 6 times and say, I've told you 100 times. It's a way of even we do that. Okay, well, we use this hyperbole many times in our day-to-day usage. His grandfather is older than the hills. My God, what could be the age of hills? Hills might have existed right from the existence of the earth. And some new formations also may be there. But the age of the hill would be at least thousands of years. Okay, sometimes even millions of years. But his grandfather, is he that old? No. What he means to say that he's so old, he's very old. That's what he's saying. Than the hills, he is older than the hills. It's not possible. It is beyond our imagination. That man is as tall as a house. Can anybody be as tall as a house? No. Again, the same thing. My dad will kill me when he comes home. Does any dad kill anybody? His son or daughter? No, it's not possible. Only thing is that even we do. Oh, my father will kill me if I do this. I'm very sure your father will not kill you. What does he do? He may beat you. That's all. Nobody kills. But the fear is expressed here. Your brain is the size of a pea. Can anybody size pea? What is the size of a pea? It's very small. Can anybody's brain be so small? What here the speaker means is that you are not intelligent. You are a fool. Okay, your brain is so small. You have no brains. That's what he means to say. This is called hyperbole. Next, personification. Okay, this is a very interesting thing. Even we do that sometimes for fun. And the poetry, it is widely used. Poetry, even novels, even play. It is a widely used thing in personification. What is person? Person means human being. Personification means uh, the inanimate things. Maybe a bus, maybe even animals. Okay, we personify or represent a non-human entity as human. What we do? Actually, suppose pig. Pig, can a pig speak? Can a pig? Pigs have government. There is one novel, Animal Farm. In this Animal Farm, pigs will have meeting. They speak. They write, constitution. It's very interesting. There are hardly one or two human characters are there. They come and go. That's all. And human characters are almost all nil in that novel. And all the characters in that novel are pigs, horses, so only animals. It's called Animal Farm. And they write even constitution, like our constitution is written by B.R. Ambedkar. In the same way, they have their constitution. They have 10 commandments. It's a very interesting novel. I recommend you to read that novel. And that is also called allegory, expanded personification. Allegory, it is called political allegory. It's something like that. So personification means the inanimate things or animals are made to be like human beings, and they can speak, they can walk. There is one poem in previous syllabus, English syllabus, a table and a chair. Table and chair, they go out walking and they speak their problems. They discuss their problems, issues. Table speaks and even chair speaks, and even they go out for walking. Can a table and chair go out for walking? It's not possible, but still it is used. We give the inanimate object or an intangible idea of some human qualities such as emotions, gestures, of even speech, and emotions are given to them. It feels I feel very sad. Can a chair feel very sad? I'm exhausted. Can a chair be exhausted like human beings? They are the qualities of human beings. So the qualities of human beings are attributed to inanimate things or even animals. Okay. Examples. The waves are dancing fast and bright. Can waves dance? No. The poet imagines that it is dancing like human being. It is dancing like human being. Actually, waves are not dancing. They are not human beings. The breath of the moist earth is light. Earth. Does earth has breathing? No. It has no breathing. It is inanimate thing. But still, the poet is imagining earth to be some human being, and it is breathing. How it's breathing? It is very light. It is very light. Lightning danced across the sky. Lightning is dancing across the sky. My alarm clock yells at me. See, alarm clock yells at me to get out of bed every morning. The car's headlights winked at me. Car's headlights, can it wink? My plants are begging for water. And then one day the boy came back and the tree shook with joy. The tree shook with joy as if it is a human being. It's not possible. Okay. So what we are doing, we are personifying inanimate things and attributing human qualities to them. And they can speak sometimes, they can laugh, they can express their feelings like human beings. This is called personification. Then onomatopoeia. This is a figure of speech where words or phrases indicate sounds often to bring about more imagery or better describe a setting. Authors use words to involve all five of our senses. So here what happens, the sound is more given more importance. So you want to say something, the same sounds are attributed and it try these words, they immediately appeals to our five senses. Not only our eyes are, usually when we read, we use only our eyes and the brain, but ears are not used. Ears, when you go out, you hear. But in some poems, where poets use such words in such a way that even ears invoke. Okay, we enjoy that kind of sounds. Examples, see here: chuck, 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 puff, 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 ding dong, ding dong. The little train rumbled over the tracks. See, this is the sound of a train. Chuck, 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 puff, 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 ding dong, ding dong, ding. This is sound of the train. The sheep went ba sound. The race car zoomed, zoomed past the finish line, zoomed again sound. The thump made us jump, thump sound. Time just keeps on ticking, tick, 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 tick. The buzzing bee, buzzing sound. Bee flew away. So these are called onomatopoeia. Then portmanteau words. It is comparatively modern little. What here we do is that the portmanteau is a new word found by joining two or more words and combining their meanings. Okay, portmanteau words fuses both sounds. So two words are brought together and a new word is formed. For example, advertorial is advertising plus editorial. Biography plus picture, biopic. Web plus log, blog. Education plus entertainment, edutainment. Emotion plus icon, emoticon. International plus network, internet. The same way, malicious plus software, malware. Time is running, so I'm bit fast. Then portmanteau words means what? Same thing. Multiple, same, continued. Multiple plus complex, multiplex. Motor plus complex, motel. So these are the examples. Now let's go to the next one. Palindromes. Palindromes is that something which we can read backwards also same. Okay, frontwards also same. Palindrome is a word, phrase, number, or other sequence of symbols that reads the same backward or forward. Both are same. See, let us say example. Lewd did I live, evil I did dwell. See, read from backward. Lewd. Lewd did I live, evil did I love. Same. Evil I did dwell. Same thing. In the same way, Norma is as selfless as I am, Ron. Norma is as selfless as I am, uh, Ron. Same thing. In the same way, some words, madam, radar, refer, noon, wow, none, level, etc. These are called portmanteau words. Thank you very much. I think this session is very interesting. Thank you very much.